Joom chicka chick boom chick. 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 Boom chick boom chick boom chick. Joom chicka chick boom chick boom chick. Joom chicka chick boom chicka chick about my chick. Boom chick boom chick. Joom chicka chick boom chicka chick about my chick.
morning, Acadiana. Thanks for tuning in to Local News Live, a production of AOC Community Media in partnership with The Advocate, our local journalism source and source of all things news. We're lucky to partner with them. We're also lucky, of course, to be joined by our volunteers almost every morning, most mornings. A lot of mornings, that volunteer voice you're hearing, that voice of reason, the voice of information, the voice of levity, Mr. Bruce Cohen, who I believe is laughing at my introduction there.
It's always a great intro. You come up with something new every time. I really appreciate it.
Well, Bruce, thanks so much for reading the news. I'm going to let you take it away, buddy.
Okay, and thank you, Matt, for being an incredible engineer. Matt allows me to do this every morning that I do it, so my hat's off to Mr. Roberts. So good morning, Acadiana. First story we have this morning is Guillory gets grilled over Hyman Center closing. Residents voice concerns during town hall meeting by Claire Taylor, staff writer. Lafayette Parish Mayor President Josh Guillory faced questions Wednesday from constituents and patrons of the Hyman Performing Arts Center after Guillory announced Friday he was laying off most employees of the facility, forcing the cancellation of about 21 events. Guillory held the first in a series of town hall meetings Wednesday in which residents could ask questions and voice concerns. About 4:30 p.m. Friday, before a three-day holiday weekend, Guillory announced in a news release and online video that effective June 5th, he was laying off 101 employees of the Hyman Center, Lafayette Science Museum, Acadiana Nature Center or Station, and 3 senior centers, including 23 full-time and 78 part-time employees. Only 6 employees at the facilities were retained to ensure the security and physical upkeep, and 6 unfilled positions were eliminated. The facilities were operating at 25% capacity in compliance with the governor's Phase 1 reopening orders, a news release stated. The layoffs, Guillory said, were the first step in cutting the budget to compensate for sales tax revenue lost when businesses closed for 2 months to slow the spread of the coronavirus. Darlene Placence, who owns a Lafayette Parish dance studio, questioned closing the Hyman Center with 21 events scheduled through September, including many annual dance recitals. Besides rent and other fees paid to the center itself, she said, dance recitals generate other revenue and sales tax in the community. We are putting money back into the community, she said. A dance teacher whose show was scheduled for June 20th said rental fees for the Hyman Center for 4 days are $10,700. Printing programs for the show through a local printer cost more than $10,000, she said. Parents and other family and friends of the 242 performers usually buy flowers for their girls from local shops, generating even more tax revenue, and dance studios usually hire a local videographer to film the shows and sell copies to the performers. Plaisance said the Hyman Center had worked out a way to safely allow the dance shows to go on by requiring 4 seats between people. Tommy Garisco reached out to the Acadiana Advocate after learning Tuesday that the layoffs may jeopardize his plans for holding the 2020 NPC Louisiana State Championships at the Hyman Center. The event, which includes competitions for bodybuilding and fitness, could draw 800 people. Wednesday afternoon, Garisco was looking for another site in Lafayette to host the event on July 11th. Garisco asked how residents of a city like Lafayette, which he described as an arts and tourism city, feel about having their arts and culture activities cut. You put a dagger in your economy, he said. Guillory said his administration is trying to make the situation work for programs that are self-sustaining and revenue neutral. He said Community Development Director Hollis Conway will work on trying to make the shows happen. Asked by Lafayette resident Blake Lagno if he believes it's the role of governor of the government to support local arts and cultural activities, Guillory said, I think it's a want, not a need. Several people also questioned canceling the Park and Recreation Department summer camp for developmentally disabled residents. Guillory said his administrations were looking for funding from state and federal sources and encouraged groups to form public-private partnerships to help some services in place. In March alone, Guillory said Lafayette lost $1 million in sales taxes because of the coronavirus closures. The forecast for the rest of the year is a $10 million loss, he said. There may be additional cuts, Guillory said. Resident Jeff Daly asked via Facebook if Guillory was looking at the $600,000 subsidy to 3 Lafayette consolidated government public golf courses. Guillory said there were discussions about that last weekend, and those costs will be examined. Asked by someone else about personally taking a pay cut, Guillory, an attorney, replied that he took a pay cut when he became mayor president in January. Academy moving into car lot property, online learning increasingly in spotlight by Katie Gagliano, staff writer. The Lafayette Online Academy is planning to move into a larger standalone space as a virtual learning program continues to grow and online learning is increasingly in the spotlight as parents and children navigate uncertain educational terrain amid the coronavirus pandemic. On May 13th, the Lafayette Parish School Board granted authority to the school system to renegotiate a lease with Mendoza Real Estate for a property at Ambassador Caffrey Parkway and Ridge Road. The property, formerly home to Posh Pre-Owned, has been vacant for months, said Kyle Bordelon, School System Facilities and Planning Director. The site is under contract until October, but the school system is looking to terminate the lease early enough to move the online academy into the space. The current building includes an open concept main space with small offices along one wall, bathrooms, and a break room or meeting space. It was originally a gas station, but the building was renovated when Posh moved it into the space about 5 years ago, Bordelon said. The building would require a few changes. The main needs include the addition of between 30 and 40 computers with accompanying computer tables and other office furniture, he said. Lafayette Online Academy would then relocate from Southside High School to the site of the 3300 block of Ambassador Caffrey, a high traffic area that will offer the program greater visibility. Located on a bus route, it's also accessible for students who need to visit the facility, Principal Jared Kute said. The exact timeline for the move is still being decided, he said. The academy launched 4 years ago as an alternative to a traditional classroom environment. Before its founding, the school system utilized online learning for credit recovery and high school summer school learning, he said. Last year, the program served about 200 students in grades K through 12, and the academy graduated about 40 students. Every year since its launch, the program has attracted new students, the principal said. Enrollment is offered year-round. The whole goal is to make things as flexible as possible for students and families. It's a very flexible setup, and rather than a student molding themselves around the program, we designed something for them, Kute said. We want to meet the needs of modern families. Students follow a tailored online curriculum and complete coursework through their platform, Edge Unity. Benchmarks are set, but students can access the program 24 hours a day and set their own pace. Built-in tools include read aloud options in multiple languages, transcripts of teacher lessons, and accommodations like extended time, Kute said. The flexibility of a virtual classroom is backed up with full school support by 2 certified Lafayette Parish School System teachers and a school counselor. Teachers work primarily with 6th through 12th grade students and can work through difficult lessons, review test materials, offer tutoring, proctor in-person exams, and generally provide all classroom-type support services at their main office, he said. Students in kindergarten through 5th grade are largely managed through a partnership with Fuel Education, a digital education services company, the principal said. Teachers also tightly track student progress and performance data in real time, Kute said. Edge Edge Unity allows teachers to monitor a student's progression through lessons, quizzes, and tests to ensure they're meeting benchmarks. If they slow too much or fail an element too many times, the teachers will be alerted for intervention. Student struggles may be tied to how they're approaching the course, the arrangement of their work schedule, or their note-taking skills. The teachers review their work, meet with the student, and diagnose these problems, he said. Edge Unity is really innovative and advanced, but it's simple to use. You can utilize the greatest courseware, but it's important to have great teachers behind that. And I think we have that both at Lafayette Online Academy, Kute said. There's not a clear picture of how the pandemic will affect enrollment in the academy, but Kute said he anticipates there could be increased interest in a non-traditional learning environment as concerns persist about students returning to campuses in the fall and what school will look like. Cooley said he and his staff are prepared for increased enrollment should that happen. Scaling the program is quick and flexible. The main requirement would be hiring additional teachers if needed and ensuring there's adequate numbers of computer stations at their main office to serve students, he said. And continuing in the educational aspect of news in Acadiana, South Louisiana Community College picks interim chancellor by Ken Stickney, staff writer. Vincent June, vice chancellor for academic and student affairs, has been appointed interim chancellor at South Louisiana Community College, or SLCC. Louisiana Community and Technical College System President Monty Sullivan announced the appointment Wednesday in a message to the SLCC faculty, staff, and students. I am pleased that Dr. June has agreed to lead SLCC on an interim basis. He is very knowledgeable of the greater Acadiana region. We believe he is a good fit during this transition period, Sullivan said in an issued statement. In the meantime, I ask that you fully support Dr. June in his new role and remain focused on the mission and continue providing first-rate service to our students and the communities we serve. Sullivan said the decision was made in consultation with the system's Board of Supervisors. The decision for a permanent replacement will follow after the president and board determine their next steps. June, a South Florida native, joined SLCC in 2016 and has 25 years of higher education experience, including 17 years as the Chief Students Affairs and Enrollment Officer at Florida Gulf Coast University, Florida A&M, and the Georgia Perimeter College. He said Wednesday that the position may last as long as a year, but no longer. He briefly served as an interim president at Georgia Perimeter when the president there was ill. He earned a bachelor's in business and economics from Florida A&M and an MBA and doctorate in educational leadership and student affairs at Washington State University. June 50 returned to campus last week as SLCC entered phase one of its reopening with just essential workers on campus. He said enrollment will be online in the summer and enrollment is up slightly over last year's numbers. He said SLCC will return to fall enrollment in hybrid classes, part online and part in the classroom. He said if there is a second wave of infections in the pandemic, SLCC would be better positioned to return to online classes by starting in the hybrid format. June replaces former Chancellor Natalie Harder, who resigned to take the president's job at Coker University in South Carolina. Harder had been chancellor for 8 years. Okay, looking at public service announcements for the greater Acadiana area. AOC teams up with United Way of Acadiana for Learn United. The United Way of Acadiana has teamed up with AOC and other local educational groups for Learn United, bridging the digital gap to provide educational resources for households that don't have internet but do have a television. The Learn United program airs weekdays from 8 to 2 on AOC 2 and Cox 16 and LUS 4 and streaming at aocinc.org/watch. For the daily schedule and to submit content for the program, visit the United Way of Acadiana website. That's unitedwayofacadiana.org/learn-united. united. Okay, Vitalant seeking plasma donations from recovered COVID patients. In early April, Vitalant, the nation's largest independent nonprofit blood service provider, launched a program in collaboration with hospital partners, the Mayo Clinic, and the American Red Cross to treat COVID-19 patients with convalescent plasma. The Food and Drug Administration, or FDA, has identified and approved convalescent plasma treatment as an emergency investigational new drug. It is currently the only antibody treatment available to COVID-19 patients, and as such is a promising new treatment option. Vitalant is seeking convalescent plasma donors to help patients. Eligibility criteria are, as stated, prior diagnosis of COVID-19 documented by a laboratory test or a positive serological test for the SARS-CoV-2 antibodies taken after recovery. Complete resolution of symptoms for at least 14 days, meet all other FDA donor eligibility requirements to donate plasma. Even with these requirements, there may be additional tests or other criteria required. In some instances, those who have recovered from COVID-19 may be able to donate even if they did not have an initial laboratory test. Those who meet the above criteria and want to donate plasma are encouraged to apply through the Vitalant website. That's Vitalant, vitalant.org/COVID-free. Or for more information, you can call them at 866-287-5762. That's 866-287-5762. Keeping Calm Through COVID hotline. If you're feeling overwhelmed with stress, fear, and anxiety about the uncertainty surrounding this public health emergency, there is a special Keeping Calm Through COVID hotline you can call. The contact disconnects you to trained, compassionate counselors who can offer support and who can direct you to mental health and substance abuse counseling services. Trained counselors available 24/7. All calls are confidential. You can call 1-866-310-7977. That's 866-310-7977. Okay, let's go back to our news. One Acadiana named Billy Cox, CEO, Chairman of Board by Adam Daigle, Acadiana Business Editor. One Acadiana named Stephen P. Hebert as its board chairman on Monday, following the resignation of former chairwoman Natalie Harder. Hebert, president and CEO of the Billy Cox, will finish Harder's term after she left at her post as chancellor of South Louisiana Community College to take the helm of Coker University in South Carolina. Hebert, who was serving as chairman-elect, will move into the position. He joined the board in 2018. I believed in One Acadiana from the start, and every year its impact on the region has become stronger and stronger, Harder said. One Acadiana is now a vital part of the economic development of the region, and the community will benefit greatly from its leadership through the current economic recovery cycle. Hebert's experience with One Acadiana includes serving as co-chairman of the Urban Revitalization Committee. That's a tough one. Urban Revitalization Committee from 2016 to 2019, board secretary in 2019, and as co-chairman of the organization's leadership exchange trip to Greenville, South Carolina last year. The work of economic development is critical, and an organization like One Acadiana provides the creativity and resources to successfully lead the development and implementation of a powerful and inclusive strategic vision for the region, Hebert said. I'm honored to be elected to lead the board, and I look forward to more closely collaborating with my colleagues. 1A's dedicated staff and our partners through the region to make a positive impact on Acadiana. Harder, who took on several workforce issues during her tenure at SLCC, will be missed, said One Acadiana President and CEO Troy Wayman. I'm deeply grateful to Dr. Harder for her vision, dedication, and passion during her time with One Acadiana, he said. She made a profound impact on our organization from our very inception and will be greatly missed. Equally, I am excited for what the future holds under Stephen's leadership. He will be slipping into this role during a crucial time for our region. His leadership, foresight, and strong business acumen will be integral and invaluable as we work with regional partners to support and promote recovery and growth. All right. And going on to state news. Rare inflammatory illness claims first victim in Louisiana. Virus-related condition affects young people by Sam Carlin, staff writer. Louisiana has confirmed its first death from a rare coronavirus-related inflammatory condition in children and young adults, officials said Wednesday, as the state sees continued improvement on some key virus testing and hospitalization metrics. Governor John Bel Edwards announced the state has confirmed 13 total cases of the multi-system inflammatory syndrome in children, up from 11 reported by the state health department last week. He said one young person between 0 and 19 years old has died in Louisiana. Louisiana Department of Health has alerted providers about the new condition, which has a host of unknowns. Although its cause is not known, many of those with the condition had COVID-19 or were exposed to someone with the virus. It can be serious and it can be deadly, Edwards said, but most children who are diagnosed with this condition do get better with appropriate medical care. The condition affects those younger than 21 and causes some body parts to become inflamed, including the heart, lungs, kidneys, brain, skin, eyes, or gastrointestinal organs. Of the 13 cases in Louisiana, the median age is 11 years old and 4 children are currently hospitalized, while 8 have been discharged. 7 are Black and 3 are white. State Health Department will include data on the condition on its dashboard with weekly updates, officials said. Edwards said he will announce early next week whether the state will enter phase 2 of reopening on June 5th, which will be 21 days after entering the first phase of 25% capacity in most businesses. Although the state is tracking reasonably well in key metrics, such as the percentage of tests coming back positive and hospitalizations, Edwards declined to say whether the state is meeting benchmarks needed to continue reopening, he said. He said health officials are crunching the numbers and would dive into the data over the weekend. Up to now, we haven't seen anything that indicates that we have a surge in cases, Edwards said. The state's reopening began May 15th, and it often takes 7 to 14 days before people start experiencing symptoms after contracting the virus. The state is expected to hit in May the Keach benchmark of deploying 200,000 diagnostic tests and currently sits at about 180,000 tests, Edwards said. And over the past week, the state has averaged 5.5% of tests coming back positive, well below a 10% benchmark identified by the WHO or the World Health Organization. Dr. Alex Bilio, Assistant Secretary for the state's Office of Public Health, told lawmakers in a confirmation hearing the state has made strides in surging testing into parts of the state that have not had it. Only 3 parishes remain that have less than 2% of the population tested, and the state has provided aid to nursing homes and other congregate settings to help test all residents. But after announcing outbreaks last week at 3 crawfish farms where migrant workers live in dorm-like facilities, the Edwards administration has refused to provide any more information about outbreaks at the facilities. Workers on temporary visas power the state's crawfish industry, where they come to rural crawfish farms and processing facilities to live in close quarters and work for the season. And health experts and those close to the industry said it was not surprising the virus exploded there. Bilio said the state didn't want to insensitize companies to hide outbreaks from the state. The agency last week announced that 100 workers had tested positive across 3 facilities, many of them without showing symptoms. He also said the state likely will not provide such information in the future because officials want to make sure those who test positive and employers feel comfortable to report outbreaks to the state. Those congregate settings largely don't pose a risk to the public, and Edwards said, rising cases at such facilities won't necessarily thwart the state's reopening. But what might pose a problem is a lack of masks and for more face-to-face interactions among the publics. Edwards indicated, especially over the Memorial Day weekend. He said he hopes people are practicing social distancing, but he said he's concerned about a lack of masks. Over time, it's human nature to think we're past this, Edwards said. Well, we're not past it. I hate when people say, will it come back in the fall? It hasn't left. And okay, looking at some more public service announcements. Medicaid resources. If you lost your job or have reduced hours, you may be eligible for Medicaid. You can apply online at mymedicaid.la.gov. You can also apply by phone by calling 888-342-6207 or by mail by sending information to Louisiana Medicaid, P.O. Box 91283, Baton Rouge, LA 70821. Local offices for Medicaid are currently closed to the public. If additional assistance is needed, you can always call 888-342-6207. Locally, you can stop the spread, call instead. #StopTheSpread. For the latest COVID-19 updates and information, you can call 311 or visit www.311lafayette.services. Call centers with volunteers and medical professionals are active 24/7 to answer your questions about COVID-19 and determine if you need to get screened. You may also call 311 and press option 2 if you're a business owner, employee, or are looking for a job to get information about applying for small business recovery loans or to apply for unemployment benefits and related programs. And to continue with that type of information, LEDA is allowing individuals whose hours are being reduced at work or have been laid off from employment to qualify for unemployment insurance benefits. If you're attempting to apply for unemployment insurance and are not able to access an existing online account or need help resetting your password, call Lafayette Acadiana Workforce Solutions office at 337-262-5601. Due to the high call volume, some calls may not be answered immediately, so you may call again at a later time or contact one of Louisiana's other local offices for assistance. In addition to unemployment insurance benefits, individuals looking for supplemental income can consider local employment opportunities with businesses who are seeking temporary part-time and full-time workers by visiting the COVID-19 Help Wanted resource page at lafayette.org/Help Wanted or LEDA's virtual job fair page with local businesses seeking to hire local candidates for full-time employment opportunities at lafayette.org/jobs. Okay, it's around that time during our news broadcast, around the half-hour mark, where we tell you about today in history, the zodiac or the horoscope, as I refer to it, and the funerals in the Acadiana area as of today. Today in history. Today is Thursday, May 28th, the 149th day of 2020. There are potentially 217 shopping days left in the year. Today's highlight in history: on May 28th, 1912, the Senate Commerce Committee issued its report on the Titanic disaster that cited a state of absolute unpreparedness and properly tested safety equipment and an indifference to danger as some of the causes of an unnecessary tragedy. On this date in 1908, British author Ian Fleming, creator of James Bond, as well as Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, was born in London. In 1918, American troops fought their first major battle during World War I as they launched an offensive against the German-held French village of Cantigny. The Americans succeeded in capturing the village. In 1937, President Franklin D. Roosevelt pushed a button in Washington signaling that vehicular traffic could begin crossing the just opened Golden Gate Bridge in California. Neville Chamberlain became Prime Minister of Britain. In Nazi Germany, Volkswagen was founded by the German Labor Front. In 1940, during World War II, the Belgian army surrendered to invading German forces. In 1964, the Charter of the Palestine Liberation Organization, or PLO, was issued at the start of a meeting of the Palestine National Congress in Jerusalem. 1977, 165 people were killed when fire raced through the Beverly Hills Supper Club in Southgate, Kentucky. In 1987, to the embarrassment of Soviet officials, Matthias Rust, a young West German pilot, landed a private plane in Moscow's Red Square without authorization. Rust was freed by the Soviets the following year. In 2003, President George W. Bush signed a 10-year, $350 billion package of tax cuts, saying they already were adding fuel to an economic recovery. 10 years ago, President Barack Obama visited Grand Isle, Louisiana, where he personally confronted the spreading damage wrought by the crude gushing into the Gulf of Mexico from the BP blowout and the bitter anger rising onshore. 5 years ago, a federal grand jury indictment handed up in Chicago revealed that former U.S. House Speaker Dennis Hastert agreed to pay $3.5 million in hush money to keep an unidentified person silent about prior misconduct by the Illinois Republican. Hastert later pleaded guilty to breaking banking law and was sentenced to 15 months in prison. Prosecutors said the money was intended to conceal past sexual abuse against a student wrestler while Hastert was a high school teacher and coach. 1 year ago, Sports Illustrated magazine was sold for $110 million to Authentic Brands Group, a company that specializes in managing fashion, entertainment, and sports brands. Today's birthdays, we have actress Carol Baker is 89 years old. Producer-director Erwin Winkler is 89. Basketball Hall of Famer Jerry West, 82. Former New York City Mayor Rudolph Giuliani is 76. Singer Gladys Knight of Gladys Knight and the Pips is 76. Singer John Fogerty, Creedence Clearwater Revival's leader, founder, and solo artist, is 75. Country musician Jerry Douglas is 64. Former Governor and U.S. Representative Mark Sanford, a Republican from South Carolina, is 60. Country singer Phil Vassar is 56. And singer Kylie Minogue is 52, along with actor Justin Kirk at 51. Thought for today: the bravest thing you can do when you are not brave is to profess courage and act accordingly. That's a quote by Cora May Harris, American writer, 1869 to 1935. And our zodiac listings for today, or the horoscope: if you're a Gemini, May 21st through June 20th, stick close at home and take care of personal responsibilities. Utilize your space to allow you to work on plans or projects on your to-do list. Cancers, June 21st through July 22nd, a change will create tension with an opponent. Search for an alternative that will help persuade others to see things your way. Charm and diplomacy will help. Leos, July 23rd to August 22nd, consider what you want as you explore the best way to achieve your objective. Looking for guidelines and will ensure you do everything by the book. Romance is on the rise. Virgos, which includes my birth sign, August 23rd through September 22nd. Don't worry about what others do. Stick to the truth. Take care of responsibilities and make changes that will be beneficial. A younger or older relative will offer unexpected insight. Libras, September 23rd to October 23rd. Reconnect with someone from your past through social media. What you discover will help you let go of bygone times and addresses what you want to do next. Scorpios, October 24th through November 22nd. Handle a sensitive issue with diplomacy. Everyone is entitled to hers or her own opinion. Offer others the same freedom you want in return. Do your own thing. Sagittarius, November 23rd through December 21st. Be open about the way you feel and what your expectations are regarding in a partnership or joint venture. Refuse to let an outsider interfere in your personal life. Capricorns, December 22nd through January 19th. A detailed look at a situation or personal documents will reveal what you need to do next. Concentrate on individual improvement and how you present your ideas and images to others. Aquarius, January 20th through February 19th. Share your plans with someone you want to spend more time with, and you'll find out where you stand. A commitment will help you move forward with confidence. Pisces, February 20th through March 20th. Sit tight, stay little, and observe a lot. You need to gather information if you want to stay in control of a murky situation. Discipline and fair play will be required. Aries, March 21st to April 19th. Enlist the help of others. Get organized and update time-sensitive documents and pending matters. Make emotional and physical improvements. Proper diet and a challenging fitness program are encouraged. And finally, Taurus, April 20th through May 20th. Emotions will get you in trouble. Before you make a rash decision or drastic change, consider why you're doing so and whether there is a better way to proceed. And as always, as we mentioned at the end of the Zodiac or horoscope, the horoscope is an entertainment feature and is not based on scientific fact, but you may personally believe in it. So there you go. In the funeral city in the Acadiana area, Jacqueline LeBlanc at La Chapelle de Martin and Castile in Lafayette at noon, and Cindy Roth and Martin and Castile's La Fleur de Lis Chapel in Lafayette at 2 p.m. All right, going back to the stories. Bill seeking secrecy and tax breaks killed by Sam Carlin, staff writer. Legislation pushed by business groups to keep secret some information reported by companies receiving tax incentives from the state died Wednesday after lawmakers and media advocates voiced concerns that it would hide crucial information about businesses benefiting from public programs. The bill, sponsored by Senator Bodie White, Republican from Central, and pushed by the Baton Rouge Area Chamber, would have made a host of information classified as personally identifying exempt from public records law, where companies submit the information to the state in exchange for tax incentives. Adam Knapp, president of BRAC, or BRAC, said companies were worried about releasing information about their employees if the public could access the information through public records request. He argued the bill would protect the workers from having their information released publicly. White added that major corporations are worried about getting sued by employees for releasing their information. But after the bill cruised through the Senate with little opposition, lawmakers on the House and Governmental Affairs Committee questioned whether the legislation was really about protecting workers from having their information disclosed. The Public Affairs Research Council, a good government group, and the Louisiana Press Association both slammed the legislation as overly broad and argued it would hide important information about who is receiving tax money through the state's myriad incentive programs. I don't know what the real motive is here, said Democratic Representative Wilford Carter, calling it suspicious legislation. My instinct is that it's something other than what we're hearing today. Scott Sternberg, general counsel for the Louisiana Press Association and attorney for the advocate, said information like social security numbers is already exempt from public records law. And although the bill did not cover majority shareholders, Sternberg noted companies could easily restructure their ownership to hide who owns the companies receiving tax dollars. The press and the people are not interested in people's social security numbers, Sternberg said. We just want to know if the governor's brother is on the payroll. The legislation was supported by the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry, BRAC, the Regional Economic Alliance, and Louisiana Ammonia Producers, among others. Asked which companies are asking for the change, Knapp didn't say, and some Republicans balked at the legislation given the absence of an employer or employee standing behind it. Representative Charles Henry, Republican from Jefferson, called it a solution in search of a problem. The bill died on a 3-8 vote. White said the bill would contribute to an atmosphere that would make it more likely for companies to relocate to Louisiana. Louisiana has a host of incentive programs that hand out billions of state and local tax dollars to companies like refineries, manufacturers, movie makers, and even some fast food restaurants. Supporters of the programs, which are administered by Louisiana Economic Development, part of Governor John Bel Edwards' administration, say they help the state compete for businesses looking to expand, relocate, or stay in Louisiana, which has a complicated tax structure. Opponents argue many of the incentives amount to corporate giveaways, benefiting powerful companies who would keep doing business in the state regardless. In the fiscal year 2019, corporations received more than $487 million in tax money through the Motion Picture Investor Tax Credit, Inventory Tax Credit, Quality Jobs Program, and Digital Interactive Media and Software Tax Credit. That's not to mention the state's largest tax incentive, the Industrial Tax Exemption Program, which shields manufacturers from paying billions in property taxes, as well as other programs like the Enterprise Zone, Research and Development Tax Credit for Restoration Tax Abatement. BRAC has fought hard against activists in Baton Rouge who have sought to curtail the Industrial Tax Exemption Program, especially since Edwards overhauled the program to rein it in and give locals a say in whether to exempt companies from paying property taxes. Continuing with legislation news, legislation to kill parish suits against oil companies advances by Tyler Bridges, staff writer. Oil and gas companies won another round in the Louisiana legislature on Wednesday when a House committee approved a measure that would kill lawsuits filed by 7 coastal parishes against the companies over the loss of wetlands and marshes. The 9-3 vote by the Natural Resources Committee advances Senate Bill 440 to the full House. Its chances of winning passage there appear solid because most Republicans favor it, and the GOP has almost 2/3 of the seats in the House. But SB 440 still faces a complicated path to become law. It will encounter a tough battle in the Senate, where it must win approval again after being amended by the House committee, and then it faces opposition from Governor John Bel Edwards, who can veto the bill if it wins Senate passage. Wednesday's committee hearing was the fourth step in the legislative process for the effort to retroactively nullify the parish lawsuits, the main priority of Louisiana's oil and gas lobbyists this year. It began as a Senate Bill 359 by State Senator Bob Henskins, Republican from Abbeville. It included specific legislation or language to invalidate the parish lawsuits. But Henskins' bill stalled before the full Senate on May 20th. Oil and gas supporters instead pushed SB 440 through the state. It included complicated language that opponents said served as a backdoor attempt to kill the parish lawsuits. The bill passed the Senate 2015, 20-15, the bare minimum needed for passage. The House Natural Resources Committee was the next step. Taking the lead and pushing SB 440 on Wednesday was its sponsor, State Senator Mike Vesey, Republican from Houma, backing him with the 2 main lobbyists for oil and gas companies, Gifford Briggs, president of the Louisiana Oil and Gas Association, and Tyler Gray, president and general counsel of the Louisiana Mid-Continent Oil and Gas Association, as well as Archie Chason, president of Lafourche Parish. The oil and gas industry is in dire need of a shot in the arm, Briggs said, adding that invalidating the lawsuits would give companies the predictability they need to boost investments in Louisiana. Opposing SB 440 were John Carmouche, the lead attorney of the Baton Rouge-based Talbot Carmouche Marcello law firm, Jefferson Parish President Cynthia Lee Shang, and St. Bernard Parish President Guy McGinnis. Carmouche is representing Jefferson and St. Bernard in their lawsuits against oil and gas companies, along with those filed by Cameron, St. John the Baptist, Vermilion, and Plaquemines parishes. The Jones Swanson firm is representing Orleans Parish, the other parish that has filed suit. Fessy reportedly told the committee members that SB 440 was needed to ensure that any money from a settlement with oil and gas companies would go to the state's Coastal Protection Restoration Authority to ensure that the money is spent wisely. My bill is to set up where the money is spent, Fessy said at one point. It has nothing to do with the lawsuits. While oil and gas supporters have taken an interest in how the state would spend any settlement money was not clear because our lobbyists want to kill not only the lawsuits, but also the one settlement reached by the Camus law firm in which Freeport McMoran has tentatively agreed to give $100 million over 20 years to up to 12 coastal parishes. Now, when we have a settlement and this legislation comes up, Li Sheng said, it's disheartening, it's a punch in the stomach. She also questioned why legislators are spending so much time on a measure that had nothing to do with COVID-19, noting that she and Jefferson Parish Council members had decided not to consider any controversial issues while they grapple with the pandemic. So far, 438 Jefferson Parish residents have died from the disease. This is a waste of our time, added McMinnis. You don't want to get sued, don't pollute. While Fessy portrayed SB 440 as simply a way to spend any settlement money, he supported an amendment that added language from SB 359 that would prevent parish government officials from suing the oil and gas companies to restore the coast. Enforcement is the sole responsibility of the state, said Representative Philip DeVilliers, Republican from Eunice, said in offering the amendment, arguing that only the state can sue the oil and gas companies. Garmouche said the state does not have the money to pay legal fees for the lawsuit. He said his firm has covered the cost of parish governments, spending $9 million on just 2 of its 42 lawsuits. Based on those figures and the $40 million cost for the state in the BP case, the Department of Natural Resources estimates that it would cost the state at least $4.2 million per case to pay lawyers and expert witnesses. Okay, and other legislation and House bill news: ban on handheld phone use while driving fails in the House by Will Sintel, staff writer. A bid to ban the use of handheld cell phones while driving was rejected Wednesday by the Louisiana House. The vote was 59-40, continuing a long-term pattern of lawmakers resisting major cell phone regulations. The measure, Senate Bill 50, earlier breezed through the Senate on a 31-5 vote. Backers said the change would trim the number of traffic accidents and fatalities and added that similar laws were already in place in 19 states. Our state has the highest rate of distracted drivers, said State Representative Mike Huval, Republican from Breaux Bridge. If the bill passes, no doubt we will have less distracted drivers, Huval said. Less distracted drivers means we will have less accidents. Less accidents mean we will have less fatalities. Opponents painted the measure as an infringement on individual liberties, and they said the ban could lead to racial profiling by law enforcement. Representative Gary Carter, Democrat from New Orleans, said it was just disturbing that police could stop cars and trucks by claiming drivers were talking on a phone. I think that is overstep on its face, Carter said, and it leads to other consequences like racial profiling. Representative Danny McCormick, Republican from Oil City, was among several lawmakers who said the legislation would be infringement on individual rights. I'm very concerned about lost liberties and concerned about this and what it can lead to, McCormick said. And let's see, if you want to know who voted yes or who voted for or against the bill, voting to ban handheld cell phones while driving, feature those individuals or those legislators were Representatives Bacala, Bellio, Boronak, Butler, Cousin, Davis, DeVilliers, Dubuisson, Dwight, Echoes, Farnham, Ferment, Freeburg, Gadberry, Harris, Henry, Hilferty, Hollis, Huval, The League, Lacombe, Mack, McGee, Morano, McFarland, McKnight, McMahon, Muscarello, Nelson, Owen, Presley, Sackhorn, Stangney, Tarver, Thomas, Turner, Velo, Wheat, white, and right. Sounds like breads. Voting against SB 50 or 59, Speaker Schnecksider, Representatives Adams, Amity, Bagley, Bishop, Brass, Brown, Bryant, Carpenter, Carrier G. Carter, R. Carter, W. Carter, Cormier, Cox, Cruz, Desautels, Duplessis, Edmonds, Emerson, Fontenot, Freeman, Fryman, Garofalo, Goudet, Green, Horton, Hughes, Ivy, James, Jefferson, Jenkins, M. Johnson, T. Johnson, Jones, Jordan, Kerner, Landry, Larvadian, Lyons, Marcel, McCormick, McGee's, D. Miller, G. Miller, Mincy, Moore, Newell, C. Owen, Phelps, Pierre, Reiser, Seabog, Selzer, St. Blanc, Stavansky, Thompson, and Willard. And I apologize for any mispronunciation, which there were probably a few. Not voting were Representative Gaines, Glover, Hodges, Romero, and Zeringue. All right. We have time for our sports story, and that will probably wrap it up for this morning's broadcast. Return of travel, rec ball mostly successful. Parks take extra caution during virus pandemic by Kevin Foote, sports writer and staff writer for The Advocate. Considering the uncertainty of the past 2.5 months, several Acadiana area sports complex officials were ecstatic with the first weekend of activity since the coronavirus shutdown. To be honest, it was better than we thought, said Tim Robichaud, director of the Youngsville Sports Complex, said of Memorial Day weekend. We were a little fearful going into it. No, the scene at Robichaud's complex wasn't 100% routine and included unique guidelines like barricaded entrances to provide one way in and one way out. The bleachers were blocked off, forcing parents to sit in tents behind the outfield fences, and players didn't even have access to the dugouts. Robichaud said the facility had 47 girls' teams and easily could have hosted a large tournament. But for now, we wanted to make sure we could handle and keep it safe for everybody. Robichaud said another factor contributing to the overall success of the first travel ball weekend was cooperation among parks around the state. We're all in it together, he said. All the parks in the state. We've been talking to Alexandria and Ruston. We're all leaning on each other. It's been a collective effort that helped a lot in decision making. At Quality Sports Authority in Erath, there were no volunteers at the gate collecting admission. The upfront gate fee was paid online. Only 10 people were allowed in the dugout. So when a 10-player team with 2 coaches were at bat, 2 of the players had to stand outside the dugout until spots opened up. Park director Jeremy Picard said his facility removed the bleachers from the park and added extra staff to regularly clean restrooms, and all concession workers had to use gloves and masks. 2 weeks ago, USSSA called us and asked if we wanted to host an event for them, Picard said. We were kind of skeptical, but at first we weren't allowed to have concession stands or charge admission. But besides having to take out the stands and a few other things, it ran like a normal tournament would. It went very well. It was good to see those young kids play baseball again. The other unique feature in Erath was the plate umpire called balls and strikes behind the mound to maintain distance. While Picard said that was tougher on officials, then they will likely return to normal positions in phase 2 of the state's reopening. The fans were kinder and gentler than usual. Everybody was a little more laid back for the first weekend, Picard said. Seems like everybody was more excited just to be out and watch baseball. I'm sure next weekend they'll be back to normal. At the Carencro Sports Complex, Park Director Jim Thibodeau and his facility hosted 26 teams without a hitch. It was a good weekend, he said. Unlike most parks, Carencro took everyone's temperature when entering the park, and everybody was under 99 degrees. Another unique aspect in Carencro is the fields are larger than in Broussard in Youngsville, and the park officials painted safe zones in which spectators could put chairs to view the games. So with the temporary fencing, that has given us an extra 100 feet behind the outfield fence for the players and spectators to move around, said Thibodeau, who added the park provided a social distancing reminder every hour on the public and teams outside until 30 minutes before games and keeping parents until 15-minute games. Complex asked everyone to leave as soon as the games ended. Thibodeau said Karen Kroll will host an adult tournament this weekend, which doesn't bring as many spectators as youth events. As in other sports, Thibodeau noticed a different attitude in the first weekend. Spectators and the players have all been very polite and cooperative, he said. In the past, there's been a little more rudeness. At the Broussard Sports Complex, sports coordinator Jill Paget, the first weekend went so well that we didn't even have any rain delays. Imagine that. Paget said park officials disinfected after every game. The most difficult aspect of returning was apparent social distancing with the bleachers unavailable. Broussard hosted 70 teams for a 2D tournament. Things went smoothly, Paget said. There was a better vibe in the park than at times in the past. We had really good officials, and they didn't tolerate any of it. The kids were just happy to be back and happy to be playing again. As for recreation ball, Broussard will extend sports registration June 1st through July 5th and will now run in spring season from July 27th through October 1st. Robichaux said his park in Youngsville only had trouble with numbers because of the shutdown on the recreation side, which has begun practicing but not playing games. The tournament side, it's not as many fearful people, Robichaux said. There's more caution on the rec side of things. The limit was 1,500 kids in the program from ages 3 to 14, and more than 1,200 kids are still participating. Some teams may have had 2 or 3 kids elect not to play, and some had as many as 9, so we had to regroup the roster, said Robichaux, who added his complex is now ready to host events with as many as 80 teams. As for recreation ball, Alta Guillory of the Lafayette Recreation and Parks Department said neighborhood leagues are still registering. Scott is slated to begin play a 5-week session beginning June 8th, followed by the other associations June 15th. Well, that's about it for this morning's broadcast. Appreciate you listening in, taking time out of your morning to listen to the news. We do this special reading of the newspaper every Monday through Friday from 9 to 10 to include our visually impaired community, as well as our community of people who don't necessarily get the newspaper or have access to the news cycle. We appreciate reading to you every morning. If you're interested at all in becoming a reader for the program as a volunteer, we would love to hear from you. So please go to our website, aocinc.org. You'll find a form for the volunteer reading newspaper program. Fill it out. Come join us. We'd love to have you. More the merrier. As you probably determine, I enjoy reading the newspaper to you every morning and love to provide the service. So please join us if you must. As always, stay safe and secure out there. Stay healthy. Stay happy and content with those who love. If you're still quarantining, if you are making it around town, please wear your mask. Wash hands, take necessary precautions, sanitize whenever possible, stay healthy and safe so we can combat this virus and try to get back to some kind of normalcy soon. So again, good morning. Have a great day. Be kind to each other.